Hello and welcome to the Friday Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who has all the answers. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. No pressure. No pressure ever when you introduce me that way.
Well, I usually introduce you that way when we're doing a listener question special, and that's what we're doing today.
Well, then it makes sense.
Do you want a quick preview of what's coming, Taylor?
Do I?
All right, we're going to talk.
Already forgotten.
We're going to talk 2026 World Cup and the CONCACAF bid. We're going to talk League of Nations. We're going to talk US National Team Co-Ed 11.
So post World War I. Got it. Cool.
US National Team Co-Ed 11. We're going to talk about choosing an MLS team. How does one do that? Choosing an Arsene Wenger replacement at Arsenal. Easy question.
A lot of responsibility for us on today's show.
And we'll end with a personal question from Billy Harding.
Plus a new approach to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
Oh, yeah. Okay, up first, Taylor. We got an email from Dan Osterhout titled World Cup Shenanigans. And Dan's question is about the World Cup 2026 bid that we've heard. It's not official yet, but it's going to be a joint bid from the US, Canada, and Mexico, all bidding to host that 48-team World Cup. Okay, quick question from Dan Osterhout. How does that work with regards to the automatic host country bid? Would all three get in automatically? I know CONCACAF should have a few more spots by then, but just wondering how this would affect it.
As far as I understand, with the expanded World Cup, CONCACAF gets, 6 spots?
Yes.
6.5? I can't remember.
Six total.
Okay.
Right now, 3.5, 2026,
Yeah.
6.
So I think, as far as I understand, it would be then, based on past being precedent, yeah, those three are taken.
Yeah.
So then you have 3 remaining spots for the remaining CONCACAF nations.
So we read, and this is just the proposal right now, but we know FIFA are going to rubber stamp this proposal fairly soon, right? Is that for the new allocations?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I
federation,
thought you
right?
meant this 2026 bid. I was like, what's that now?
No. So, yeah, 6 CONCACAF spots. And the thing that they've said in this sort of proposal for how the World Cup will work going forward is we have these spots for each confederation, and whoever's hosting loses 1 spot, and that spot goes to the host. So you don't have to rebalance it or anything. So, yeah, 6 CONCACAF spots. 3 would go to US, Mexico, Canada, and then the rest of CONCACAF would fight for those remaining spots, and Costa Rica would beat everybody for 2 years straight.
Yep, pretty much. I would also be very curious to see, because we know that the way it works is also that there will be a couple spots left over for, the way it would work in 2018, that's what we always go to.
Yeah.
It's easy with just one host. Is that it's because Russia were going, if it were the new format for 2018, then one of the play-in playoffs would come from Europe because the host nation is in Europe, right? In this situation, I don't know what would happen if all 3 host nations are from CONCACAF. I don't know if they would still get that spot or if that spot would go elsewhere. It would be very interesting to see.
So you could end up with potentially 7 CONCACAF nations. That would be fun.
Potentially.
So the big winner in this obviously would be Canada, right? Because with all due respect, Canada struggles to qualify for World Cups. US, Mexico can kind of expect to be there. So it'd be huge for Canada. But I'd be feeling maybe a little sore if I'm one of the other CONCACAF nations that has a shot at World Cup qualification, has a better shot than Canada, just talent-wise, but will be 1 spot will go to Canada.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Jamaica or Trinidad or a team like that.
Yeah, I think that's safe, as well as, any Honduras could be a little bit frustrated by that. Guatemala, Haiti, who knows? I think it's a smart idea. It's a smart approach, I think, that these countries are taking, because Mexico...
US, Canada, Mexico.
Yeah, because I think you could have, theoretically... there's many arguments for why Mexico on their own could host a World Cup. I think there's many arguments for why the United States on its own could host a World Cup.
Less so for Canada?
I I think just looking at the stadia as a whole, they right now, I think the biggest stadium that they have is 60. It can be expanded to 66,000, and that's on turf.
Is this Montreal Stadium for big games?
Yes, the Olympic Stadium. Yeah, I think the largest stadium in Canada, as far as I understand, that's natural grass, is BMO Field.
Okay,
and that's around 30,000. I think 33 maybe in there. So I think that could be a problem. Just that alone. But I think it's smart, because what you're doing is essentially taking 2 countries, the United States and Mexico, that could compete against each other for a World Cup bid, combining them, then bringing in Canada, who have never been to a World Cup. So if Gianni Infantino's stated goal is we want more countries that have never been there, we want to expand the World Cup to include countries that wouldn't be there otherwise, then now all of a sudden you've got 2 very strong countries with a consistent link to playing in the World Cup, and then you've got one that wouldn't be there unless they were hosting.
I'm just saying,
potentially.
I hope England are joining Canada's group. Right? Because that's they'll be seeded as well. So you'll be playing a seeded team, and it might be Canada.
Yep. So it sounds like at this point we're kind of positive on this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the other aspect.
So not so much about the CONCACAF berths for the World Cup, but the idea of the 3-team hosted World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's too big. I guess that's how I feel. I feel like it's leading towards a it's just a revolving, rotating. One confederation gets the World Cup one year, and then you have games played all over that continent.
I can agree because, say it's like Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. That's often talked about as a possible World Cup host. That makes sense. Benelux. Because it's like three like geographic and size-wise kind of smaller nations.
Yep.
It makes sense to combine all that, right?
Yeah.
But the US on its own is basically the size of a continent, right?
Yeah.
Mexico's huge. Canada, like I know a lot of it to the north is not World Cup ready, but it's still a large area. Yeah. Have to build a wall there.
Yeah.
I think it would just be spread around, right?
Yeah, I mean, and so I think it makes it very hard to be able to say, like, if you are, I think the idea that you had off air was like, say you're Nigeria coming in.
Yeah.
If Nigeria are playing in, like in a best case scenario, like Toronto, Atlanta, and like, I don't know, Guadalajara, like even if that makes sense in terms of like, at least we're like kind of like moving south and like but it's going to be really hard for fans to pay for that, to follow that. Yeah. And there's immigration issues as well. I don't know if...
you're going through 3 countries.
Yeah, because I don't know what a U.S. tourist visa allows for in terms of if it's multiple entry, if you have to get special dispensation. So that's also an issue that will have to be ironed out.
Well, it would make sense, say, to localize the groups, though, right? So say Nigeria has 3 group games. Maybe you have them all in the southeast of the U.S. Or you have them all in the Pacific Northwest, at least. Or you have them all somewhere like in the south of, like, southwest in Mexico. I mean, you can localize that. I was more thinking of, for example, if it's Nigeria, Russia, and that game is in Guadalajara, and I'm top of my head, I'm just assuming there's not like a Russian or Nigerian like heavy population in Guadalajara. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm kind of guessing. Would you sell out that game?
Probably not. And that's
interesting, right?
And I mean, you go back to the Copa America this past summer, where if it's not one of those big teams, I know the attendance was still very good compared to other Copa Americas, but a large part of that is because the United States has giant stadia and they have big teams coming in.
Yeah.
But you could have those games.
People want to see Messi.
Yeah. So, but you could definitely have those games where, I think at the time we were doing like the SeatGeek app, and it was like you could buy a ticket for $4 because no one is going to go see, I don't know, if it was like Venezuela, Peru or whatever. Like people weren't as excited about those games.
That's just because they don't know about Salomon Rondon and Joseph Martinez.
Yeah. The United States playing Venezuela, by the way. I think that was announced.
Oh, yeah.
Friendlies against Venezuela and Ghana are rumored.
Whoa, when?
This summer. I think that was announced today. That's the rumors that they'll be playing, I think, after World Cup qualifiers, before Gold Cup starts.
Okay.
Some tune-up games.
Tune-up games. All right. Do you want to talk some other CONCACAF news?
Sure.
So the other thing that came out today was Montaliani, the CONCACAF pres, mentioned that CONCACAF is thinking about having
it sounds like this is also a rubber stamp.
Yeah, so they're meeting in Aruba. There's a CONCACAF conference it's the worst places to meet, right?
I think Ryan Bailey on the Goalmouth today had the good joke of, it's funny how it's always like a beautiful tropical island nation and not, say, Detroit.
I mean, why not? Why not? Get some sunshine.
Yeah.
So they're going to
That was Ryan's joke, by the way, Detroiters, not mine.
Just that because my wife's from Detroit, right? She's going to come after you.
I've gotten you in trouble before once when I told her that you made fun of Detroit. She didn't think it was funny.
That's not true. That's not true. So League of Nations, similar to what UEFA are going to do in 2018. And if anyone's confused about this, because I feel like this has been like bubbling along and no one's fully paid attention until it starts. There are going to be, in Europe, there's going to be basically no more friendlies. Instead, all the national teams will be sort of divvied up into like little tiny leagues. Like I'm not sure how big they are exactly, and there'll be promotion and relegation between those leagues, and you'll play for points in what would be the international friendly.
I might
dates.
be completely wrong, but I want to say it was like 4 10-team leagues. I'm not sure if that's
that sounds good. That sounds about right.
Or 5 10-team leagues. But yeah, the essential idea is what you have, like a league season where you play home and away against the nations, and then you are either the champion of the top tier or you get promoted up at the end of that season.
But that's great. Suddenly there's plenty to play for. And so I think the CONCACAF, from what I understand from Montaliani, was that now they can't play friendlies against European teams. We may as well do our own CONCACAF League of Nations. All right, so Taylor Rockwell, thumbs up, thumbs down?
I think thumbs up. I think the key point there being that I was like, oh, this seems like a bad idea. We're never going to get to play like Germany or Netherlands again. And you need that experience. But then the reality is we're probably not going to get to do that anyway because of this new system that UEFA are adopting.
There'll be no window to play European teams.
I would say, and it's weird because I've just said I kind of don't like that 2026 bid because I think it's too big. And I think it kind of takes away from the idea. A big part, I have never been to a World Cup. That's worth noting. But everyone I know who has been to one loves the atmosphere. They love the kind of small, everyone is there. So
like
you're
centralized, right?
Yeah, you're interacting with all these different people.
This is the center of the soccer world right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like it would take away. So again, that's why I don't like that getting bigger. In this situation, I feel like I would actually rather it be bigger. I would rather it be almost like a Western Hemisphere League of Nations.
So you're talking about League of Nations with CONCACAF and CONMEBOL,
yes.
right? And then we would have, maybe if the US got in the top division, we'd be competing with Argentina, Brazil, Chile.
Colombia
Uruguay.
in there too, yep. Yeah.
I'd be on board
and
with
then
that
Costa
as
Rica,
well.
Mexico, whomever else, yeah.
It's worth saying that that's not what they're talking about.
Nope,
They're
it is
talking
not,
about
but I would
CONCACAF.
love that, yes.
So a top division of CONCACAF League of Nations, we assume would be, what, US, Mexico, Costa Rica, Honduras? Something like that?
I mean, well, you have 41 countries in there. So, again, you could do 4 10-team divisions.
Yeah.
Or 3 10-team, 1 11-team.
This could be exciting because with that competition at the top, there's a chance that the US can win that top division. There's a chance that the US can get relegated out of that top division if they have a bad run of results. That would mean many, many more games against our local rivals, Mexico, Honduras, Costa Rica, other teams as well, that really had something on the line, had some points on the line. I think I'd be into it.
You think so?
Yeah. More so than friendlies, friendlies against even say, Italy's B team.
Yeah, I guess, and that is a key distinction, right? Is that even when the United States is scheduling some of these friendlies in that January camp, for example, which I do wonder what would happen there if you
that would probably keep going.
Yeah, but then would that be you're still playing B team friendlies?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so it would be cool if they could tie those in.
January's its own special thing.
Yeah, true. But you're right that it isn't always guaranteed that you're playing the best of the best in those friendlies.
And there's just the blood has gone out of international friendlies, right?
Yeah.
It used to be that it was a treat when Hungary would come and play England and no one had seen Hungary and everyone's excited and England would field their best team and try their very hardest.
So what I'm hearing you say is you want the Iron Curtain back.
No.
Is that roughly what I'm getting?
But you know what I'm saying? There's a sense of mystery and sense of occasion to an international friendly.
Yeah.
Now it's just people complaining that the Premier League's not on this weekend.
Very
you know what
true.
I'm saying? So I think the time for the end of international friendlies is probably coming, and I think the League of Nations is a good idea to replace it in UEFA and in CONCACAF. So I'm all in.
I'm all in as long as...
Are you really? Yeah, you would.
I think so. I think especially given the way things are going that it's going to be very difficult to schedule those friendlies, and so I think it makes more sense to kind of look inward and make that competitive. So then you have another reason to go to Costa Rica and El Salvador and Honduras and Guatemala and have those very hostile atmospheres. Same thing for Trinidad, Jamaica, Haiti. And
instead of just the shock of 3 or 4. Sorry, what am I doing here? 5 away games in the Hex. That's the only time you do it, and that's spread over a couple of years. To do that more regularly might be better for the US.
Exactly.
So it's not such a shock to Timmy Chandler when he goes down there.
Exactly.
He can be I've been here before.
Timmy Chandler specifically. That's what I think. That's the entire reason why they're doing this. I don't know if you saw that press release. Yeah,
the Timmy Chandler League of Nations.
We saw how much he struggled in that one World Cup qualifier many years ago. We knew we had to do something. We knew we had to intervene.
All right, should we move on to more listener questions?
Sure.
We spent a long time in CONCACAF there. Up next, question from Mike Moon.
Moeta. Who asked, I believe, am I the only one still using my Brazilian name that he got way back in the 2014 World Cup? I believe the answer is yes.
Yeah, but it's the best one.
Yep.
Moeta. Or one of the best ones.
Yep.
Okay, Mike says, you guys mentioned last summer in the run-up to the Olympics that maybe someday the Olympics would be innovators in soccer and make their competition co-ed. I really love this idea, says Mike. So, what is your ideal US national team co-ed starting 11? Mike also adds, I'm not entirely sure if there are standards for what the gender balance on the team or field would be to keep it co-ed.
I'm going to go, I think the standard one, at least for CVSA here in Richmond, is if you're going co-ed, if you're playing 11 aside, it has to be, 7 men, 4 women?
Yeah, minimum of 4 female players.
Okay, yeah.
But this is slightly odd here because the US women's national team are world champions and the US men's national team are not.
Correct. Yeah. So it's tough to balance it. It's also an interesting time because I think last time we did this, I think it was
just after the 2011 World Cup.
I think I either had 5 or 6 female players. I have fewer this time. I have 4.
Okay.
And I think part of that is because the U.S. women's team, even though they are the reigning World Cup champions, obviously the Olympics didn't go well.
Yeah.
They did just beat Russia, but some
4-0.
of their more recent friendlies, not that great.
Right.
So it seems like they're in a little bit of a state of flux, and so it's harder to say, yep, locked on.
So I can tell you last time out, I solved I basically used the women's team to solve the US men's team's problems, right? US men's team didn't have a target forward, so Abby Wambach was in there after 2011 World Cup where she dominated.
Yep.
US didn't have a number 10, so Carly Lloyd was in there, right? There was 2 great solutions. I think I had Megan Rapinoe crossing in from the wing as well.
But for example, the other big one would be, I think last time we did this, I had that Julie Johnson-Becky Sauerbrunn partnership was locked down awesome until after 2015. It's been broken up a little bit.
Yeah.
They've been trying the back 3. They've been trying some different combinations there.
All right.
So it's tough to go with that one. And obviously Hope Solo gone. Hope Solo, I think, did make my team last time.
Of course, yeah, she was the obvious
obviously
pick.
Not making my team this time, nor is Alyssa Nair.
Okay, so we'll start with you
Harris,
then.
yeah.
We haven't really tried to do a combined 11 here. We've just named our separate starting 11s, right?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to go first? You want to tell me your formation and maybe just list me your team and maybe offer some commentary as you go?
Sure. So I went with a 4-1-3-2. because it's kind of standard back four. It's what the U.S. men's team has been doing.
Yeah.
The women, as I said, were doing that back three. I don't know if they stuck with that against Russia, but it didn't seem like it was working in the She Believes Cup, which is not friendlies.
They went to a back four. They went to a back four, much to Stephanie Yang's surprise.
Yeah, so...
and mine.
So I have Tim Howard in goal. I've got DeAndre Yedlin at right back.
Interesting.
I've got Becky Sauerbrunn and John Brooks playing together in the middle.
That is a great partnership.
And I've got Megan Klingenberg as my left back.
Okay, let's talk this out then first. Okay, Yedlin at right back, I get it, right? Klingenberg, I think, excellent, dependable left back, better than anything the US has right now in terms of international experience as well, right? The US men, sorry. Villafania doesn't have the international experience. DeMarcus Beasley has too much.
Yeah.
And that partnership of Brooks and Sauerbrunn is perfect.
Yes.
It's experience and organising versus the sort of the raw talent and like the great play out of the back of John Brooks.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for talking me through that one.
I'm talking up your back four.
So I initially had Michael Bradley as my one, and I still have him there. But now I'm thinking, we've had a lot of people asking, basically saying he should be dropped or should the U.S. look at different options. So maybe they should. So maybe I'm on the fly going to cross him out and say maybe I'm trying to think of a strong defensive midfielder for the women's national team.
Well, it's the same problem, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a time when like Lauren Holiday had to play in there because the US women's team didn't have a strong defensive midfielder either.
Yeah. And then Ali Long was doing it, but
she may be the choice. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going Sam Ewis though, because why not?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a shock. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Sam Ewis is your number 6.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if that's what she plays for the women's national
Ali
team.
Long scored twice last night, by the way.
I know she did from midfield, not center back. Worth noting. Then I've got in front of Sam Ewis or Michael Bradley. I'm not sure which. The midfield three of Christian Pulisic and Clint Dempsey and Mallory Pugh. So I've got youth and pace on the outside, so veteran presence in the middle.
So Dempsey's like your central attacking mid, and then Pulisic and Pugh on the wings.
Yep.
Wow.
We're very attacking, this team.
That's great, though. That's so good.
And this is where I think I may have got myself into trouble. Because I think about Carly Lloyd of that 2015 World Cup. I think about Carly Lloyd scoring those goals, being that really exciting attacking player. So I wanted her partnering another exciting attacking player who's maybe a little bit pacier. So I went with Carly Lloyd and Bobby Wood up top, forgetting, though, that in the She Believes Cup, Carly Lloyd struggled when playing as that far forward attacker. She kept dropping deep and kept kind of getting caught in the midfield.
But she played it like in a 1-2, right?
Yeah.
Where she was like an attacking midfielder behind 2 forwards, and it seemed like she got like mixed up in there. So maybe it might work to have Carly Lloyd just playing off of Bobby Wood. Bobby Wood would also stretch the defence with his pace and directness. Yeah. Leaves a bit more room for Carly Lloyd to play in.
Yep.
I think I'm liking your team more than mine.
There we go.
Okay, do you want to hear mine?
I do.
Okay, I've gone also for Tim Howard in goal. Right, it would have been a battle between Howard and Hope Solo.
Yep.
If she was playing, you'd maybe have to give the nod to Hope Solo, but she's no longer part of the women's national team right now.
She is not.
So Tim Howard in goal. I've gone with a back three. I've gone Chelsea style, 3-4-3. I said 4-3-4-3, right?
I know what you meant.
That would definitely win, but 3-4-3. My back three is Jeff Cameron, right centre-back, Becky Sauerbrunn, centre-back, John Brooks, left centre-back.
I love center back.
I don't think she's ever done it for the women's team, but I honestly think of Becky Sauerbrunn as the organiser. She'd probably be captain of this team, organising everything around her. And you got Brooks to your left, Cameron to the right. I think that's perfect.
And I think part of the thing that was frustrating when we were watching the U.S. women in the She Believes Cup was that Becky Sauerbrunn was playing out on the right of that back three.
Yep.
I think you're absolutely right that to put her in the middle makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Talked about this with Stephanie Yang yesterday. She agrees. She really wanted to see Sauerbrunn in the middle. So there she is in the middle of my US co-ed starting 11.
Love it. All right.
Okay. My midfield 4. Again, I've gone Chelsea style. Okay. My centre 2 are...
I bet I can guess. Is it Michael Bradley and Carly Lloyd?
Yes,
yeah,
it is. And I think it might be a mistake, but I just can't resist doing it. It's like 2 leaders, right? Michael Bradley and Carly Lloyd. And obviously Bradley's the more defensive. Lloyd is going to get forward a bit more. But I kind of like Lloyd back in the centre of midfield, not pushed too far forward. She can join the attack, but she's mostly there with Bradley as like a 6 and an 8 kind of deal. Okay. Out wide, I've gone Tobin Heath on the right.
Okay.
Because why not? I can't.
I believe you mean Tobinho, but sure.
Yeah, I can't pick a team without Tobinho.
Yep.
On the left, I'm actually torn between Klingenberg and Fabian Johnson. And basically, this is going to depend on what's going on in the game. If this is a more defensive game where we have to be a bit more reserved, Klingenberg is sort of my left mid / left wing back.
And if it's played in Pittsburgh, then she gets to start. Yep.
But if we're more attacking, Fabian Johnson is my attacking left wing back.
If it's played in Germany, definitely. Yeah.
Fair, okay. My front three, I've sort of got... So the key here is to get the most out of Mallory Pugh and Christian Pulisic, right?
Yep.
So essentially, if you imagine Chelsea, imagine like the Eden Hazard and Pedro roles, I've given that to Pulisic and Pugh. right? And then my centre forward, Alex Morgan. Alex Morgan is the tip of the spear. With Pulisic and Pugh sort of behind and wide.
Hasn't Alex Morgan been come under kind of similar criticism as Michael Bradley in terms of like not producing enough on the field to justify continuous selection? So you're doubling down basically.
I am. I was really impressed. One of the things Alex Morgan said is when she went to Lyon, she wanted to play more as like the target forward, leading the line type player. So I'm hoping it can all work out and she can do that here. If Abby Wambach was still around, she'd be the tip. She'd be the Diego Costa in the 3-4-3.
Yep.
So the other thing I really like is on one side of the field now, I have Mallory Pugh and Tobin Heath combining. On the other side, I have Christian Pulisic and Fabian Johnson, or Christian Pulisic and Klingenberg maybe offering some cover.
And I've got Klingenberg and Mallory Pugh on one side, DeAndre Yedlin and Christian Pulisic on the other.
Ooh, okay. I like all that.
And then I'm going to say in terms of captain, I know it's usually Carly Lloyd and Michael Bradley. Throwing that out the window. I'm going Becky Sauerbrunn. Becky Sauerbrunn is my captain.
I think we've confirmed Total Soccer Show as huge Becky Sauerbrunn fans here.
Yeah, and it actually doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I don't know if she's from Richmond, but has played in Richmond.
She's not from Richmond, but she played for Richmond Kickers Destiny. Yeah,
yeah, but that really doesn't factor into it, although it doesn't hurt either.
Okay, I feel like we're going to hear about these starting 11s because everybody's going to have their own opinion.
Yep.
I feel like with so many players to choose from, there's no wrong answer. There's a wrong answer.
I'm ready for all of the Sam Ewis as their defensive midfielder tweets. I don't care. Get her in there. Get her on that plane.
Ali Long maybe could do it. Ali Long could do it.
Yeah.
This is a national shortage of defensive midfielders.
It's not good. It's not good.
Okay, if you have your own US co-ed starting 11, how about we have this conversation on Twitter? Mm-hmm. Tweet your starting 11 at us. With the hashtag, I'm trying to make up a hashtag on the fly here.
Oh boy.
It's got to be short. Hashtag USCoEd11 XI.
Yep.
Yeah, that's short enough, right?
USCOEdXI.
Yeah, USCoEd11. Hashtag USCoEd11. Let us know who you would start in your USCoEd11.
Just making sure that there's no way that can, there's no shoving all those together, that acronym together turns into something horrible. Yeah.
Vote stonemasons. We do? That's what... Okay.
Stone cutters.
Stone cutters, I'm sorry.
Get your act together, Daryl.
All right, we have more questions, but first, Taylor, today's show is sponsored by Blue Apron. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country.
That's right. Their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. They achieve this by supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs.
They also make it very easy to make a meal. Every meal comes with step-by-step, easy-to-follow a recipe card, pre-portioned ingredients, and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less.
This is true.
This got me thinking, because I did this, right?
Yep.
I did this.
That's the sound of trepidation coming from me is the sound of me knowing what's about to happen.
Okay, so I am not a great cook because I'm not very good at sort of figuring out. I'm always like, that's about right. That looks enough.
It should work.
That flavour goes with that flavour probably.
I've taught you should work before, right?
Yeah.
When you're not sure, it should work. It's fine.
It means it won't. Put it this way, I once made a cake at school, a school project. I accidentally added salt instead of sugar. Failed.
Failed
that class.
I forget the character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but she has that line of like, I didn't have salt, so I used baking soda.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened, right? So the thing with Blue Apron is it comes in a box, it has a recipe card, it has every ingredient and the exact amount. So you can never be like, oh, there's a spare part. You know, when you try and put together, just picking at random a lawnmower, like maybe we tried to do recently, and you're not sure which part goes where. Blue Apron, you always know, right? The analogy I thought of is,
here we go.
This is like putting together a soccer team.
Yeah.
If it came in a box with all the correct players with your tactical instructions, and if the instruction said you're going to play 4-2-3-1 with a target man, and here's your target man, and here's your wingers, and here's your attacking midfielder, and here's your 2 defensive midfielders, and one of them is really good at going box to box, you would easily be able to put this team together.
Yeah.
Even David Moyes could put together a winning team from a Blue Apron soccer box.
Shots fired. But I also like the idea of, as Blue Apron inspires you to cook with ingredients that you wouldn't otherwise use, this would make you, if you were the coach, like you would suddenly have this like very exciting number 10. If you're a very pragmatic coach, all of a sudden you have to figure out how to incorporate your exciting number 10 into your meal.
But you'd have instructions. Yeah. It would say, like, peel the number 10.
That's what I'm saying, but it would bring about...
Let him simmer for 10 minutes?
It would bring about a coaching renaissance, because all of a sudden you can't just be this dour, pragmatic manager who sits back and plays, a 6 6-1-2 or whatever.
Are we still talking about David Moyes?
I don't know what we're talking about, yeah. You don't even need all your players because that's how defensive you are. Yeah, so it forces you to do different things.
If you would like to do the food equivalent of putting together a perfect soccer team, you can check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/TSS. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait.
That's blueapron.com/TSS. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
And to pick a soccer team.
Also that.
All right. A couple more questions on today's show, Taylor. Next one comes from Marcus McCarthy. Okay, Marcus says, I need to pick an MLS team, and I haven't been able to find one organically, so I need your help. Because this was usually our advice, right, is just watch some soccer, and eventually something will click. You'll see something, and you'll be like, oh, I love that. That's my team. Marcus says that this happened for him with Spurs. Right, in 2002, he was just looking to watch some soccer, saw Robbie Keane score for Spurs, felt something, now a Spurs fan. Trying to do the same with MLS, it hasn't happened for him. Okay, here's more info. He says, I do not live in an MLS city. I live in Pittsburgh. But every year I say I'm going to follow MLS closer. I love the US national team more than even Spurs, and I want to watch the US players play more often. But without a team to follow, I've struggled to get into the league. Help. Who should I support? Maybe one suggestion from each of you.
Okay. I might steal your suggestion right out the box, but I'll hold off on that for a second.
Well, here's my first idea. If you live in Pennsylvania, why not support Philadelphia Union?
I believe Pittsburgh and Philly fans can let you know that on Twitter as well.
Is that right?
They do not get along.
Is this like a Steelers-Eagles deal?
I mean, Steelers, Eagles, Flyers, Penguins.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to remember what else that could be in there. Phillies, Pirates, definitely in there. And on the Kroll Show, there's even he has a rivalry. I think he's the Philly pawn shop owner, and he has a rivalry with... I think it's John Daly, who is the Pittsburgh pawn shop owner.
I see.
Yeah.
What about wait for a Pittsburgh MLS team?
That could be one.
Give it 15, 20 years.
Get the Riverhounds up there? Yeah, why not? So I think that's why. I think that's why he wouldn't just go for Philadelphia.
So he didn't even mention Philadelphia Union in the email at all. I guess that's the reason why.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think so. Usually, our advice is just start. Watch the leagues, as you said. Watch leagues, get to know some teams, see who you're drawn to. I think that doesn't necessarily work for Major League Soccer.
Oh, interesting.
And I think because there's parity, and you have sort of every year the team could win, the team could be terrible, and it's kind of tough to know because it's so dependent on bringing in specific players for specific amounts of money. But I think that also frees you up a little bit because I think you won't have. Maybe unless you're going after the LA Galaxy or maybe like Seattle or Portland in there, maybe you get a little bit of an accusation of being a glory hunter. But I think generally speaking, DC United, for example, they've won 4 MLS titles, I believe. If you started supporting DC this year and a year from now they won MLS Cup, I don't think many DC United fans are going to be like, you're a glory hunter.
Yeah, right,
it's going to be sort of like, yeah, that's fine. Congratulations.
So is that your recommendation? Get in on DC now while they're bad?
No. So I think it's kind of follow.
You'd be in on the new stadium.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think DC United, and I think
Pennsylvania to DC is not
somewhat
that far.
drivable. Yeah, maybe DC. Why not?
Right.
But I think it's also worth noting here, and I think you made this point, that look at what your priorities are, and if it's I really want to watch the U.S. men's national team and know more about the U.S. national team, then maybe it's worth looking at the clubs that are developing young American players on a consistent basis.
And where does that point to?
It points to FC Dallas.
It does, right? It's the main team sort of in terms of developing academy players, getting homegrown players, bringing them through guys like Kellen Acosta, Zimmerman, Hedges, all in the starting 11 right now. I think FC Dallas is the place to go if you want to watch future U.S. national team players.
I think so, too.
And current U.S. national team players.
And you have like Mauro Diaz injured right now, so you don't have one of the best players in the league, so maybe you could get in there early and be like, oh yeah, I like them when Mauro Diaz was injured.
But you also get to watch Mauro Diaz and support
the
incredible things he does wearing the number 10. You'd be like, that's exciting stuff to watch. You also get the joy of having 2 frustrating strikers to be frustrated about in Urruti and Coleman. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It feels like a classic soccer fan thing to have 2 strikers that are both capable of banging goals in, but also both capable of banging balls into goalkeepers.
Yeah, and I think the other one...
Thinking of Tuesday night specifically.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think also worth noting maybe RSL. I would say it's kind of a tough year to start supporting RSL.
You'd be on very much the ground floor.
You would.
Of the Western Conference.
You would, but in terms of young American players, because you've got Justin Glad there, you've got
Brooks Lennon.
Bofo Salcedo, Brooks Lennon, there's one more that I'm forgetting. There's 2 more I'm forgetting, I think.
Justin Allen?
Yes.
The other Salcedo?
Yeah,
another Salcedo
exactly. Yeah, so there's lots of different players in there, very young young American players.
Carl Beckerman, up and coming.
Yeah, very, very up and coming. We'll see. I don't think he's ever going to retire. He says as he might have retired today. I don't know. So, I mean, that is another shout, but I think FC Dallas, for how good they are now and how good they seem like they're going to be in the future.
Okay, so can we just double check this, right? Are there any other teams that have loads of US national team players? Like maybe Toronto has Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore. Does that not hold true? I guess no, because there's going to be more Canadian players on that Toronto team soon. And Altidore and Bradley are sort of not up-and-comers, right? Okay, Seattle. You get to see Morris and Dempsey and Roldan.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can make. I think every club could make a compelling argument for. We've had a couple homegrown players get some national team caps, or we've had a couple of our players play for the national team. So I mean, it's not as though there's one team that definitely hasn't done that at all.
Yeah,
that would definitely not work to their advantage.
All right, but we're saying FC Dallas.
I think
Give
so.
FC Dallas a go, and you'd be watching some current US national team up-and-comers, along with the next generation. There's a guy, I actually wrote his name down because I always pronounce it incorrectly, Paxton Pomykal. He's been getting some minutes for FC Dallas. He's 17, really talented attacking midfielder. You've got Jesus Ferreira, son of David Ferreira, who's possibly going to be playing for the US in the future. George Cannon was a guy that Matt Doyle told me about. He's someone who was trained to be the first US fullback that was trained to be a fullback. We could have a future US national team left back coming through FC Dallas. So there's my pitch, FC Dallas, because if you're a US fan, maybe that works.
And I'll say lastly, before we hear about it, or they may have already written emails or tweeted, but Galaxy fans, I know you have many young American Academy players. You have U.S. national team both eligible players like Robbie Rogers, even though he doesn't get many looks. You've got
Bradford Jamieson IV,
Jesse Zardes, obviously. So you've got
the Villarreal twins, brothers. Sorry, brothers, not twins.
And forget the kid's name. Will Parchman just wrote an article about him. He was playing for Ajax, but I guess because of the immigration laws in terms of your parents can't move to a city for you to play there. You have to have moved there for them and then be playing. He basically had to move back to the United States, is now playing with the LA Galaxy.
So the law that every team breaks.
Yep, and Hugo Arellano as well, also in there. So you've got a lot of young, exciting Americans there. I think the only downside is that, number one, it seems like maybe this could be a down season for the LA Galaxy. And you do have that sort of glory hunter. They're the team that... I mean, look at Jermaine Jones's slow migration from East Coast to West Coast. I think you could make an argument that maybe that's where he wanted to be.
He joined New England with the almost expressed ambition to play for the LA Galaxy, right?
I mean, it feels that way now. I think at the time it was more so Chicago, right? Wasn't that the coin flip or whatever? I think so. Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is, if you live in Pennsylvania, you get an MLS Live subscription.
Yep.
You can watch every FC Dallas game on MLS Live. You will never have a media blackout.
There we go.
Right? Because you're never going to be in the zone where they're not screened.
That said, you're always welcome at a DC game. Says the guy who's very intermittently at DC games.
Or a Kickers game?
Yeah, or a Kickers, yeah.
It'd be a tough support from Pennsylvania.
I think so.
From Pittsburgh especially.
Yeah, especially.
All right, so we hope we helped you there, Marcus. Let us know, do you decide on FC Dallas or do you go a different way? One
Next
more question,
up,
Taylor,
two more questions, I believe, Mr. Grove.
Oh, okay.
Next up is Scott Jarbo. He says, I have been a Gooner since 1 year before Arson joined the club. I am torn about his future.
So 1995.
Yep. I think, or 1895. He's been there for a while. I respect him too much for the hashtag Wenger out nonsense. That's right, I went Wenger, not Wenger. But I secretly feel that the time to move on has come. Well, not so secretly anymore. If you assume that he leaves, who do you have replacing him? I am secretly hoping for Patrick Vieira, hiring an MLS manager, maybe roughly the equivalent of hiring one from the J-League, right? Add club legend to that, of course, but has the club alienated him so much that he is now forever sky blue? These are the things I think about instead of work, says Scott.
Okay, so first of all, I assume the J-League is a reference to Arsene Wenger, was hired from Nagoya Grampus 8,
well done.
J-League team in 96. I don't think that's equivalent to hiring Patrick Vieira now, because before he coached at Grampus, Wenger was at Monaco for 7 years, managing in Ligue 1. And another French team before that, I forget which one. He had a lot more experience than Vieira.
Yes.
So it's not a like-for-like thing. And there's also... Vieira works for Manchester City.
He does.
Or City Football Group.
Yeah.
Is that what we call
But they've
them?
done a good job of bringing him in his final years as a player, but then very much keeping him within the organization.
Yeah.
Now he's managing NYCFC. I think he is very much a City Football Group person from here on out.
Maybe he'll get to travel the world and coach all their teams and slowly work his way up to Manchester City. Like when he maybe go and coach in Melbourne and then maybe in that... Are they buying a Uruguayan team?
Yes,
Is there rumors of that?
Yes, they are. Yeah,
the City Football Group empire.
Move all over the place.
The Sky Blue
so
empire.
I would also say I am one who is inclined to believe that maybe hiring club legends isn't the best approach. It certainly can work if there is an obvious name who's been there for a while. So the one that comes to mind would be, say, Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid, who's worked his way through the academy. Pep Guardiola, the same at Barcelona. But if you look at Arsenal, there's not that many candidates. Like you have
Steve Bold would be the only one, I think, because he's been the assistant coach, but then he's tied to the Wenger regime, right?
Yeah, and Dennis Bergkamp, I've seen him rumored a little bit that I think he's an assistant at Ajax right now, or was an assistant at Ajax, but I don't think that makes as much sense. I think you probably go for a bigger name who can continue to attract big name players and kind of won't have that immediate criticism that I think a lesser known or unproven manager might have.
Oh, so you want them to come in with some credit to burn?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to say, I'm finding this very hard because Arsene Wenger's been there so long. Is it like 20, 21 years? I can't conceive of someone else managing Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Right? I mean, I'm a Man United fan. I am very familiar with how strange it is when it happens and how turbulent it can be.
It's also, if it does happen at Arsenal, it's going to happen in different circumstances to Ferguson, right? Because he literally won the league on the way out the door. And
this is where I would say, I would also add that I think this is where sentimentality has to go out the window. Okay. Because I think this idea of we had this guy here forever, but now we're going to bring in a club legend and he's going to carry that torch. I mean, I know David Moyes was not a club legend, but there was that sort of, he's been in the Premier League, he's a Scottish manager, we'll continue that tradition, he'll be able to get the job done.
The key thing was Ferguson likes him.
Yes.
Right? And I'm not sure if Arsene Wenger has that same sort of relationship with anyone where he's going to recommend them and they're going to take over.
No, because I think even like Thierry Henry, I think, didn't he end up turning down a job as like an assistant coach at Arsenal because he wanted to continue to work for the BBC or Sky?
Sky, yeah. It clashed with his contract.
Yeah. So I don't think he does. So I think you have to kind of go a bigger name.
Okay, so let's get to some names. This is what Scott asked about.
So
let's get to some names.
One name I thought about, because it does seem like Wenger is going to have that extension. It does seem like he's going to be around for a little bit longer. Maybe I thought like it could be Luis Enrique, who could bring that kind of Barcelona style.
He's on my list. Luis Enrique's on my list.
But he also didn't have a very good time at Roma. And I think you could make the argument that at Barcelona, he's got a couple pretty good players that maybe he wouldn't be able to get at Arsenal.
Okay.
So I think you go with somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily need to sign huge players. I think has done a good job of signing young players, and that's something that I think Arsenal fans would appreciate.
Say the name.
I'm going Thomas Tuchel.
Thomas Tuchel. Interesting.
Yep.
All right, but okay.
Probably the hipster selection as well.
That is the hipster selection. I think that if I'm an Arsenal fan, that would be very exciting, because if you've seen Dortmund play, they do play a sort of a more aggressive style of soccer than Arsenal have played, but still kind of attractive. That's fair to say. And it's a lot more based on pressing and winning the ball high and all that kind of stuff.
But there are parallels. I mean, and like I'm not trying to like throw salt on the wound here, Arsenal fans, but I mean, Dortmund have a kind of a tendency to lose their best players to bigger teams or to a specific bigger club, and I think that doesn't necessarily kill them every single season.
But that would be a step up for Tuchel, because you're going to be losing. You're not going to be losing players in the same way, right?
No, but I mean, you look at Arsenal. For a good long while there, we're losing their big players to both of the Manchester clubs, to Barcelona, to other ones in there as well, Chelsea as well. So I mean, you have that kind of precedent there as well.
But Tuchel, no trophies.
This is an issue. Yeah.
All right. What about if we're talking Bundesliga? What about Julian Nagelsmann?
Yep.
Hoffenheim coach, 29 years old,
29. Yeah.
20, maybe under 30.
I think he was 28. He's probably 29 now.
He's definitely in the top one under 30 Bundesliga coaches. To paraphrase Brian Clough.
But see, I feel like you're throwing that out as a kind of like to satisfy the hipsterdom before you get to your actual nominee.
Do you know who I've got written down here?
I think I can guess who it's going to be. Wait, no, I think I can guess because you told me off air. That's why I have an inkling. We started recording a while ago.
Diego Simeone. Completely opposite style to Arsene Wenger, but if you think about what Arsenal fans are asking for, they're asking for fight, they're asking for like win at all costs, they're asking to like trample opposition and not be weak. Diego Simeone is that man, right? He's going to instill that. He'll be on the sidelines yelling at people, but he'll also I'm pretty sure he could turn that Arsenal team into an Atletico Simeone style team with like 4 signings maybe. Yeah,
I think you're right, and I think also it's probably a safer.
I just threw that number out there. I don't know why 4 signings, but I was thinking of like some like aggressive central midfielders, and then away we go.
But I think what I'm focused on with Simeone is that I think he does have that pedigree, having won La Liga, having been to the Champions League final with not Barcelona or Real Madrid.
He's got as close to winning the Champions League as Arsene Wenger has.
This is very true.
Maybe closer, because that was a late equaliser from Ramos.
But I think also, maybe this is just my bias, but I think his name rings out a little bit more than Thomas Tuchel. And I think that was also an element of David Moyes. I don't know how many huge international players wanted to go play for David Moyes as opposed to if, say, United had
Fellaini?
Yeah. As opposed to if United
huge,
had signed Jose Mourinho right away.
Yeah.
I think at that time, his reputation still a little bit stronger than I think it was when he went there this past time. And so maybe Diego Simeone is also that he is this exciting Spanish manager who's now going to a big club. I mean, not to...
Argentinian.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. What am I saying? Of course. And I don't mean disrespect to Atletico fans. I'm not saying, but the reality is you've got those two huge clubs in La Liga.
Yep.
Arsenal, I think, is kind of a step up in terms of how likely he is to be able to compete on a consistent basis.
And it's also, I like the idea from Simeone of coming into Arsenal, and it's not like, please try and continue our success.
Yep.
Like it was for, say, Moyes at
I can't believe I called him Spanish. I'm sorry. But
it's more like, hey, we need to be like stepping up to the next level and start winning trophies again, and we need that sort of steely thing that you bring. It seems like a good fit to me.
I like it. I like this idea.
We get Koke and Gabby maybe playing in the Premier League. That'd be quite exciting.
Yeah, but instead, Big Sam.
All right.
No, that's not happening?
Right. Not today.
Okay.
Not today. All right, Scott, let us know. Do you agree with that idea? Diego Simeone?
One other name that I could see is Carlo Ancelotti. Is that maybe he has another couple of years? Because I think Wenger, it's like a 2-year extension. I think
we don't know yet.
That's
right?
the rumor. It's been rumored for months now.
Yeah.
That seems like enough time. That would have then put Ancelotti at Bayern for 3 years. Maybe that's the time where you cycle out, and then he has consistent success pretty much wherever he goes.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes sense as well for Arsenal.
A little trophy guarantee, the Carlo Ancelotti trophy guarantee.
He's also got like the suaveness, the eyebrows that I think would look good on the Arsenal touchline.
I'm sure that would be the Arsenal board's chief concern.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Does he have eyebrows? All right, final question for today,
Can
Taylor?
he kick that plastic bottle away?
Final question from today comes from Billy Harding. As we mentioned, it was more of a personal question.
Yep.
Here's why. Billy sent us this really interesting email letting us know about Matt Sheldon. I'm assuming you, like me, had never heard of Matt Sheldon before.
I had not.
Okay. Sheldon is a right back playing in the USL in the Western Conference. That's why.
There it is. That's why.
So he played at Orange County last season. He's with St. Louis FC this season. And Sheldon also has kind of a side business called Become Elite. So it's basically a coaching business, an online coaching business with lots of personal videos. And he also includes some his personal feelings about being a pro soccer player in the USL, and also some self-analysis where he sort of replays every touch that Matt Sheldon has in a game with his own commentary, saying things like, yeah, I should have crossed that first time. That was a mistake. It's really, really, really interesting to hear. He also talks about the sacrifices he's had to make in his career to make sure he can be a pro soccer player in the USL, which is not easy, right? It's not necessarily as sort of well remunerated as playing even in MLS. Okay, so this gave Billy the idea to ask us a more personal question after he's seen Matt Sheldon open up a bit. So you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Billy asks us, what were or what are the biggest sacrifices you had to make to turn the Total Soccer Show into a full-time endeavor?
I mean, it is tough because there's been a lot, but I mean, it's also tough to say it was that big of a sacrifice because at the end of the day, we make a living talking about soccer, which is something I think a lot of people would like to do.
And so we're not complaining.
No, because I remember there were days when I was driving to my cubicle and I was thinking, I hope we can end up making something work. I hope we can make this into a thing because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Now, that cubicle job paid a regular salary, gave me benefits, allowed me to take 2 to 3 weeks of vacation a year, and I could actually take that vacation and have savings or significant savings. Podcast, it's still it's not as lucrative as a steady 40-hour-a-week job. So there is that element of I haven't taken a vacation in years. I mean, and that's the thing is but then you have the idea of but I talk about soccer for a living. Maybe that is kind of a vacation. I think a lot of people would say, hey, I'm taking 2 days off from work and I'm going to watch all the Champions League games. We do that as a living, so it's tough to say. So
my answer's kind of similar. The biggest sacrifice, I wouldn't call it a sacrifice, but the biggest thing I've missed out on is financial stuff in terms of a well-rewarded career. Yeah. Because I feel so I'm in my, mid to late 30s now. If I'd stuck with my other career, I feel like I'd have been a lot farther along. I've definitely would have been earning more money than I am right now. But instead, we decided to do this, and I'm still really happy about it.
Yeah, and I think with that, though, part of the reason why we've been able to do this for so long is, number one, support of spouses. So thank you to our wives.
That's been huge, right? Because that could have been the answer to this question is, we both damaged our relationship with our wives, but Shannon and and Margaret, my wife and your wife, respectively, have been really supportive, and that's kind of what's been able to make this happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, if Margaret had said, like, hey, I would like you to have a living where we can take a 2-week vacation to Europe, like...
To Aruba.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I was...
You'd be like, oh, maybe I can get a press pass.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, I was gone for 2 years. So there is that element. But I think, so that's part of it. But I think also comes, when we do the tournaments in the summer, we are in this room. Like, I saw you far more this summer than I saw my wife, which is, it's fine. You're an attractive man. It's cool. But that also takes a toll. So during the summer.
What, staring at me?
Yeah, well, definitely that. But also, we were in this room 7 days a week, essentially. Yeah. So it's, you're not going out. You don't have the time off. And really, I think we've talked about this a lot, that just the kind of the nature of what we do between this and the Goalmouth podcast, we both still have other, side work here and there.
Yeah.
I have not had in years a thing where I come home at the end of the day and it's like I can focus on housework, or I can focus on, making dinner and hanging out with my wife, and then we're going to go do this, we're going to go do that. It is always sort of in the back of my mind, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to work on that article.
It's a time squeeze, right? Maybe that's the biggest sacrifice is the time squeeze.
Yeah. So I think when I talk to people like about my schedule, and I've gotten a few comments from different people being like, you emailed me at 2 a.m. and I emailed you and then you responded at 8 a.m. Like, what are you doing? and I mean, my sleep schedule is pretty strange. I'm pretty sure yours is too, based on the fact that when I text you at 2 a.m, you respond right away.
Yeah, I'm trying real hard to get it back on track. But it's not easy because there's so much to do. My things to do list is always too long, basically.
Yeah. At the same time, with all that said, I am still very loath to be like, look how hard it is. Like, it's so difficult.
Because we want to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think there are definitely sacrifices you have to make. And I would say to people who are trying to start a podcast, it seems like we're in like the second boom of podcasts where there's a lot of them out there now. There's a lot of very good ones. There's a lot of different kind of approaches to podcasting that I think is pretty fascinating. I think, for example, our colleagues on the Goalmouth, Brooks and Ryan, they have the Dirty Tackle podcast.
Yes, the pilot podcast,
Which I think
it's in our feed. If you want to go back and hear like a 10-minute sample from it, we put it in the Total Soccer Show feed. You can go listen to that.
Yeah, and it's a very different to what we do. It's kind of I wouldn't call it like absurdist, but it's different like approaches.
It's focused on the fun stuff, right? Like Ronaldo Island. It's literally called Escape from Ronaldo Island.
Exactly.
The first episode.
Exactly. And so like I think there are great new podcasts out there. The issue that we've talked about many times is do people keep those going?
Yes.
Podcasts get started, they'll be great for a month or two, and then people realize it's tough. It takes time. It takes a lot of time if you're editing, if you're doing all the stuff yourself, to get everybody assembled, to get everybody in studio, it can be time consuming.
Yeah.
And so it's also keeping it going, and what that takes can be a bit of a sacrifice.
Wears off. That's when you got to keep going.
I remember when we started this one, and I was like, a year from now, like it's all going to be different. And it took 5 years and kind of an ultimatum between us of like, we either got to make something of this or we got to stop.
Half a decade from now, it'll all be different.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, so thanks to Billy for that question. I hope we weren't sort of overindulgent answering it, but I thought I wanted to answer Billy's question, basically.
And sorry, I know we're going long here, but I do want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
The other element I think that is like, it's not really a sacrifice, but it's just a thing that is sort of a minor annoyance on a consistent basis.
Uh-oh.
So, for example,
should I be writing this down?
No, but I think you will agree.
Okay.
You've been to a family reunion in the past 7 years, right? Or have you been to
every time I go home?
Okay. Yeah. Or like if you have a gathering with your wife's family, I've had that where I've gone to a family reunion from my wife's side. Getting that question like, so what do you do for a living?
Yes.
It is incredibly difficult because people are either it's what is a podcast or how do you make money off of that or it would be much easier to say like, oh, I do environmental consulting. That's it. Like,
well, I'm a vampire hunter.
Yeah. Exactly. That is a wonderful article. Thank you.
I will link to the Vampire Hunter New Yorker article.
Please read that article. Yes. And so again, it's not a sacrifice, but it is like a thing you have to prepare for of learning how to have a succinct explanation for what you do, because otherwise you will see people be like, well, that's not going to work. Or you will see their eyes just glaze over.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Okay, so that maybe happens a little with my wife's family. With my family, when I go home, the question is, do they like soccer over there? Yeah. Or they like football over there? And then there's a whole question about, do you mean like American football? And they think I'm doing an NFL podcast. It just becomes a whole really confusing conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's that. Yeah. So I guess easy conversations is a sacrifice.
All right, thank you again to Billy. And I really recommend checking out Matt Sheldon's YouTube channel, which is what Billy also emailed us about. It's called, I've lost the name here, Become Elite. It's called Become Elite. Taylor, I recommend you watch Matt Sheldon narrate his own performance.
I will, because I believe St. Louis are now in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, really?
I think they are. At least we had an invitation. I apologize. I forget who it was on Twitter. Invited us. The offer was, I think I'll buy you a beer if you guys come to the St. Louis game.
Oh, no, I'm really excited. Maybe we should try and talk to Matt Sheldon ahead of that Kickers St. Louis game then, if they're in the Eastern Conference.
I'd be down if they're in the Eastern Conference. That's a big old if.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should know soon.
Yeah, we probably should. Final segment. We're doing a twist to the Scouting Network.
Okay.
We're going to try to do a few different things with the Scouting Network. So we're going to continue to do the standard
Updates.
reports,
Yeah.
but we also want to do a little bit more with it because we are getting good reports about a lot of exciting players.
Yeah.
And it feels like sometimes we're kind of doing it at the very end and not giving it maybe the time it deserves. Is that fair to say? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we should try and build more content out of the Scouting Network. Yeah.
So we're going to go with one scouting report in particular about a player who I think we should discuss a little bit.
Oh, yes.
This one comes from Richie Garcia, scouting Emerson Hyndman.
Yay.
So Richie's report.
The future of the U.S. men's national team.
According to you.
Yep.
New manager Pedro Caixinha, I don't know how to pronounce that, took over after the international break and guided Rangers to a 4-0 win over Hamilton Academical. Hyndman played all 90 minutes on the right side of the midfield in a 4-2-3-1.
Interesting.
He played the same number of minutes in the same spot in a 1-1 draw with Motherwell. Then he got 46 minutes. I believe he was pulled at halftime during an uninspiring 1-1 draw with Kilmarnock. Despite all that, he was nominated for Rangers Young Player of the Year, which is great, but also potentially bad. Because the other story that came out this week could just be rumors, but it's that Celtic are supposedly interested in signing Emerson Hyndman from Bournemouth.
And I know this because Alan Fraser DM'd us, tweeted us the link to the Scottish Record newspaper story.
The Daily Record, yeah.
Daily Record, again. But thank you, Alan, for letting us know about this.
And it was hilarious to me because I hadn't seen that tweet and you said that and I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. He's been playing really well for them. And then kind of only then did it click for me that it was Celtic and not Rangers. Like you seemed dumbfounded by it. And in my head, it was like, yeah, of course Rangers are going to sign him to a permanent deal. And then it slowly realized like, oh, no, it's Celtic. Oh, no, that's bad. So it made me wonder, like, would that be crossing that divide? Would that be like the most acrimonious switch that could happen?
For Emerson Hyndman or in the whole world?
In the whole world, basically. Like to go from Celtic to Rangers or vice versa.
Well, it's a little different, right? Because Emerson Hyndman is not a full-time Rangers player. He's on loan from Bournemouth. So the money would be going from Celtic to Bournemouth. Yeah. And then Hyndman would be on his way. Right, so it's a little different to him going Rangers to Celtic directly.
It is, except that you could make the argument, though, that it's like Emerson Hyndman, who was playing for Fulham, moves to Bournemouth, not going to get many first-team opportunities. Seems like he's found his stride at Rangers, and so it sounds like it's sort of like Celtic paying somebody else to get a player who Rangers like almost groomed at that point.
They put him in a Glasgow shop window, and Celtic were out shopping. They're like, huh.
Yeah, we'll have a bit of that. And then obviously, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Celtic-Rangers rivalry, kind of strong. They don't really get along that much. Obviously, not quite as bad as it was in years past, but... And with that in mind, it's actually worth noting that there have been several players who have already done this, who have gone from Celtic to Rangers or Rangers to Celtic.
First one in my head is Mo Johnston.
And that's the one that I was going to mention here.
Yeah?
I think Kenny Miller has done it like back and forth and then back again.
Yeah, but he took a really circuitous route, like through Wolves for a little while.
And that's the thing is I don't know, there may have been a long time ago or maybe like lesser known, but I don't know of a player who's gone straight from one to the other. There's always been an intermediary there.
Hyndman would kind of be the closest, right? If he just sees out the season with Rangers and starts the next season with Celtic, even though he's actually been signed from Bournemouth, I think it would be the closest to this happening.
Yes.
I'm sure Scottish football fans, if that's not true, let us know via Twitter.
But yeah, the Mo Johnston one for a second, playing for Celtic, goes to Nantes in France, then is going to move back to Scotland. And from the way I understood it, from what I read, is that essentially he was assuming that it would be moving back to Celtic. He gave a press conference talking about how, like, Celtic is my life, I love Celtic forever. Then he got more money from Rangers and was like, maybe Rangers is my life now. So that didn't go so well.
My life is getting paid the most possible.
But so when I talked about
Mo
this,
Johnston, great goal scorer, by the way.
There we go. If not a great manager, I think. So I talked about this in the goal mouth, though, that I compared this move with probably the biggest one I would say in terms of if you look at like the list of the biggest traders in soccer. Number one is pretty consistently Luis Figo.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be
the pig's head incident happened after.
And swapping Barcelona for Real Madrid because other people have done that. Gone back. I mean, Luis Enrique, for example, has gone Real Madrid to Barcelona, but it wasn't sort of at the peak of his powers.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it was Luis Figo being Luis Figo in all of his glory and all of his Ballon d'Or abilities, moving to Real Madrid.
I can't help thinking that all of this just underlines the point that Emerson Hyndman is the future of the US national team. If we're comparing him to Luis Figo in any way, I think that's a good thing.
Because the other comparisons I have would be Sol Campbell moving from Spurs to Arsenal. That's the other one. I shouldn't say it's actually always Luis Figo. It's either Sol Campbell or Luis Figo, depending on if it's an English publication or not.
All right, so I feel like this is like a memory test of like soccer from a few years back. But I remember Sol Campbell. Part of the problem was he let his contract run out and then went on a Bosman for free from Spurs to Arsenal. So Tottenham didn't even get any money for a player that they had sort of like literally brought through their academy. If they had an academy back then and had his whole career there. They made him basically and then he left.
Yeah, and then so that would be a big one. The other big one that stays in London would be Ashley Cole moving from Arsenal to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So caught on tape, or I guess caught on camera in a meeting with Jose Mourinho when he was still an Arsenal manager. Both of them, I guess, found guilty of tapping up. I don't know how that works exactly. I know Cole's manager was suspended for a year. They both had to pay a fine. Cole signed a 1-year extension. At the end of that extension, I think was transferred to Chelsea, and with William Gallas going the other way. I think is how that worked out.
So that's one of those weird things where they all got caught, but they all basically got away with it.
Yeah. I mean, that said, I think Arsenal fans booed him pretty consistently. And then, I mean, and the final big one that like I can't say I know so much about, but a lot of people had some thoughts on was Roberto Baggio, actually playing for Fiorentina, moved to Juventus, two northern Italian teams who do not get along.
I didn't know that was such a big deal.
And he moved for a then record transfer fee of I think it was €8 million or €8 million, one or the other. But yeah,
it would have been Italian lira. So it would have been like 55 million billion Italian lira.
something like that. But yeah, I think it's less of like a historical rivalry. Like I think the Juventus-Inter rivalry is a little bit stronger. But I think this one is more like results on the field combined with like geographic location.
I see.
Like spilled into this is not okay. We don't like this. For Fiorentina fans and for Juve fans, they were pretty fine with it.
All right. So Emerson Hyndman to Celtic. Are we pro or con if this happens?
So I'm a Rangers fan. So I would not be happy about that.
Okay.
As I said in Goalmouth, I would understand why he would do that. It is a better team. They are currently 28 points ahead, I think, like that in the SPL.
I keep looking at that table thinking, is there a mistake?
Yeah, right. And to be fair, at least they've changed the format now, so there's like playoffs at the end of the season, so it gets a little more competitive, sort of. But it's more likely that he gets a Champions League spot. Celtic or that SPL. I'm saying Celtic. Celtic don't have that guaranteed spot. They have
they go in the playing round, right?
Exactly.
But second place gets nothing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but I mean, right now I think Rangers are second or third in the
third
SPL.
place definitely doesn't get in the Champions League.
It does not. So,
sorry, I just want to make, in case we get any corrective tweets. When you say playoff, we're talking about the mini league when the Scottish Premier League splits in half. There's a top half and a bottom half.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, it's like the mini league. Yes, exactly. So I mean, in that regard, it's better for his career probably because he's playing for a better team that has better talent within
Emerson
it.
Hyndman in the Champions League.
Yeah, theoretically. I think
Emerson Hyndman in the second qualifying round of the Champions League.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe Bournemouth would be the better one if he could go back to Bournemouth and really challenge. I think that's where I would be too. So I could see why it would be good for him. But again, I tend to support Rangers, so I tend to say no. I'd rather he stay at Rangers.
All right, I'm just going to say Emerson Hyndman, Golden Ball at the Gold Cup. 2017.
Well, no, I'm going to put you. You put me on blast. I'm going to put you on blast. That's right. I'm going to use cool hip terms like blast.
I would say. Okay, so purely, I don't have a.
I don't know if you did put me on blast. By the way, I don't really know.
I don't know what it means.
I don't either.
I don't lean either way with Rangers or Celtic. I don't think I've never really examined my feelings on it. But I would like to see Emerson Hyndman in the Champions League. I'd like to see him sort of winning titles. So for that reason, I'd be happy for him to go to Celtic.
All right,
and then use that as a stepping stone. All respect to Celtic fans to maybe somewhere even bigger. Right. I think Emerson Hyndman is a magnificent footballer.
I agree.
All right. Are we sort of settled then?
I think we have.
Yeah, all right. All right. Thank you to Richie Garcia for sending in the scouting report. Thank you to everybody else who's been sending in scouting reports. And thank you to Dan and Mike and Marcus and Scott and Billy for today's questions.
Indeed. And Blue Apron for sponsoring the show. I beat you to it.
Show. Yeah, you did. If you want to support the Total Soccer Show, help us make more Total Soccer shows, then we are, as well as ads, we are listener supported. Yep. That is the sort of the core of our business is listener support. That's why we're able to keep this show independent, right? So if you go to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe, you will see all the information about how you can support us with a small monthly donation. If you listen every day or maybe just 3 days a week and you think we might be worth $5 a month or $10 a month, please consider subscribing to the Total Soccer Show to help us keep growing.
I agree.
Part of the deal is if you go $10 a month, we guarantee to answer one listener question a month from you. So it's just to sweeten the pot a little bit.
And $100 a month, I believe Daryl will drive to your home.
I'll straight up retire.
Daryl will drive to wherever you live. And that's a big thing because Daryl doesn't have a driver's license.
I will Uber.
$100 a month subscription means Daryl gets a driver's license, drives to your house, shakes your hand.
If someone does it, maybe I will.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. So I'd be down.
All right, but thank you to everybody who subscribes. And if you're thinking about subscribing, we encourage you to do so that we can keep making more TSS.
I'm a little concerned that I might have just signed us up for something. Like maybe there's a person with too much money who's like, $1,200 to have this guy drive to my house to say hello.
Illegally. I'd have to drive illegally. If you hear like 4 police cars chasing somebody... I'll be the OJ of 2017.
I was going to say, your wife does have a white SUV, so I don't know about this.
Okay, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening.
I'm the Al Cowlings to your OJ.
We'll be back on Monday with a MLS review and Champions League preview. Champions League starts again next week. Until then, it's goodbye from us, and we'll talk to you soon. Slice